You're listening to
Wrestling to the Max.
Alert. Clear wrong channel.
This is an exclusive.
How you like that?
And your host, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Vieser.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling to the Max Extra number 25. And this is my moment to tell you that we are brought to you by the W2M Network and, of course, in partnership with 4media.com and Last Word on Sports.com. And we are talking all about the ROH 14th Anniversary pay-per-view.
That's right, Sean. Thank you. And we are, exactly. We're not talking the Oscars, sadly, just because we don't care. We are going to talk about something that's very interesting, and that is right, that Ring of Honor show that happened this past weekend. And it is going to be a lot of fun because we have a lot of different, kind of interminglings here because it is a Ring of Honor show, but New Japan was also involved, and we'll also have some New Japan news for you guys this week. So that'll take place right after we go down the card and kind of give you our ideas and some of the things we enjoyed about the show. So we've got a full show for you guys, and I am just excited about it. And we also have a special guest with us this week, and I want to make sure we welcome Mr. Christopher Hale. Hey, welcome to the show, man.
How you guys doing?
Glad to have you. It's awesome. And, of course, the regular guys on the show, we have Mr. Paul Vieser.
Heyo.
And your producer and the guy that pretty much runs the board here, Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up? You might have just heard me about an hour ago. But...
Yeah. You know what, Sean? I hope everybody heard you an hour ago. Sean also runs Wrestling Unwrapped. He's the producer, and he usually tries to stay behind the scenes on that show, but Mr. Harry Broadhurst, the host of the show, he tends to likes everybody involved. That's great. So it's kind of cool. So go check out that show on the W2M Network. If you haven't heard it, this is totally big news to you. Go check out Wrestling Unwrapped. Oh, so at least you got some D-Bry talk in there. That's nice. Yeah. But definitely, we appreciate anybody who has found us through the W2M Network, or maybe you found us in other places. Just, make sure that you do subscribe to the W2M Network. Not only going to get this show, you're going to get our regular flagship show, Wrestling to the Max, which is every Thursday. And, of course, a ton of other great shows. We may run down a lot of other shows later, but right now, we want to get into this card and talk some Ring of Honor. So let's go ahead and do it, guys. This show took place in Las Vegas. Now, I always think Las Vegas, a lot of times you think of all the gambling that takes place, all the shows and all the great things that happen. And to me, this is a perfect place for a wrestling match as we get here, a wrestling show, not a match. There's plenty of matches on the card. So we are going to kick this thing off, and we are going to talk about the Ring of Honor TV title. Now, this has been a title that has been held by plenty of prestigious people, but of course we have one here that I think you guys will be kind of interested in talking about here. We got Ishii, New Japan's Ishii, if you don't know about him, versus Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish. So this takes place, really all you need to know, in my opinion, is that Ishii wins. And we kind of talked pre-show about some of these matches, and there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm about this, so that's why I kind of brought it out like that. But Christopher, how did you enjoy this match? You didn't really sound like you enjoyed it much earlier.
It was. I think there could have been a better opener. It seemed, Bobby Fish did have a little bit of part in it, but honestly, it just really seemed like a Roderick Strong versus Ishii match to me. I was a little impressed. I was impressed with Ishii is keeping up with Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish are both really athletic guys, and Ishii is known for more of the hard hitting power moves, and he seemed to be moving at a much quicker pace, and I was impressed with that. But other than that, I wasn't surprised by the outcome at all. I figured Ishii was going to retain. Other than that, it was just an okay opener. It wasn't anything spectacular.
Yeah, you're right. And Paul, I mean, just in your opinion, what did you think about the match? But I also wanted to kind of get your idea on about the fact that Ishii did, cover Roderick Strong after he got the brainbuster. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting that Roderick Strong was the guy that took the pin. In my opinion, I thought Fish was going to take the pin.
Yeah, I'm assuming, pin Strong in Japan, pins him here. I'm assuming that means Strong is out of the TV title picture now, and we're gonna roll with Ishii, which I'm totally okay with. I mean, this match I think suffers from a lot of things. Mostly, Ishii's never worked a triple threat match that I've ever seen in my life, so I'm sure that's odd for him. This was the shortest match on the card at 8 minutes and 20 seconds, and that, especially for the TV title, with these three workers, I would think you would want some more time here to let it breathe, and they didn't give it that at all. So, one of the first of many missteps on this show, I think, from Ring of Honor.
I think it is kind of funny you say that because, Sean, you had mentioned to me about this match and you said 8 minutes, that's all. And that's really the truth here. This match really, to me, could have been better, but they just didn't give it the time.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of weird. Like Paul says, Ishii's not it's not like he's a triple threat veteran or anything. He did do some wrestling, like Christopher pointed out, so that was nice to see. I thought Bobby Fish actually did well for himself here. It's not like he was totally disregarded. I thought it would be much more Strong in Ishii, but it is interesting that Strong took the pin, and it seems like that is kind of done with, and at least it seems like Ishii's going to keep it until when they come back in May for the Global Wars. So that's pretty interesting that they decided to go with that.
Yeah, it is. It is very interesting, and I think that it's kind of cool in a way, though, because they are having these combined shows with New Japan guys joining with Ring of Honor and vice versa. So it's kind of cool for a New Japan guy to hold a belt of Ring of Honors, and I think it works. And it does get you interested in those shows you're talking about, Sean, and it kind of, I think, will help maybe some of the purchasing power for people to buy those pay-per-views and really get interested in what's happening, though. So
yeah, and it's kind of funny. It's I wonder if ROH got upset that Ishii was saying that now he's the ROH champion or ROH TV champion. He needs to be in the main event and everything. So it's kind of like, oh, so you think you're like the hot shit now? So I'm going to give you the shortest match on the card. Take that. It's a joke, people. Man. It's a joke.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what happens. I think that it's funny that she did say that, though. I'm sorry.
It's like, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to,
Yeah. Oh, man. Let's move on, though. That match was pretty quick. Like I said, not a whole lot of enthusiasm out of anybody, really, about it. Let's talk about B.J. Whitmer versus Adam Page. And, well, hey, this is the way they set it up. I didn't set the show up, Sean. But, we do get a brawl here. Really, you're going to kind of get what you expected, I think, out of this match because B.J. Whitmer, of course, kind of pulling his heel stunts, doing what he does best. And at the end here, he does, basically kick Page in the nads and really, without the referee seeing, gets the 1-2-3 pin. And I think this is just really a way to continue on their feud, which it makes sense to me. I think that this can't be a one-off anyway. So here we go. But in all, the match was okay to me. But Sean, I mean, really, did you find this match anything worth it to you? Because you seem like you just said something kind of derogatory towards it in a way.
Yes, it was almost unnecessary to be on the show if you're gonna book it the way you did. It's a grudge match, right? So you have B.J. Whitmer spend most of the match beating up Page. He barely gets to make a comeback, and then he loses. And there's not even a near fall, and it just seemed a really awkward way to do that match. But whatever.
Yeah. I think you're right, and it was kind of awkward at times. But Chris, I mean, when you were watching this, was this something that you were kind of disappointed in? Because it was kind of disappointing to me. I really thought it was going to be better.
Yeah, I mean, you hear grudge match, you automatically think like there's going to be a lot of, it's going to be really high, it's going to be high, intensity. It's going to be, they're going to be have a lot of near fall. There's going to be, it's going to be kind of a longer, not a longer match, long match, but a longer match. It's going to have, neither guy's going to want to give up. They're going to want to, make the best of each other, and it just ended up just falling completely flat, and the crowd didn't care. I don't even think the announcers cared. And honestly, I don't even know if the wrestlers themselves cared. It just didn't seem like a grudge match. They could have just left that whole wording of a match completely out of it. I mean, that could have been something to say for TV, but it wasn't very good.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. This could have been saved for TV, especially when it has absolutely zero hit going into the show. Because I can't tell. I mean, I was looking forward to this to hopefully see Adam Page get a win, see him start going on the up and up because I think he's a heck of a talent. But they decided to throw this pretty much in the garbage from the word go, and that's not helping anybody.
It did seem like they were trying with Page, but it's just
Yeah, I mean they're trying, but I don't know. I didn't like to me they should have done something else. I don't know. I have a problem with it because I do think a lot of Page.
I know everybody keeps talking about how great BJ Whitmer is, and I don't think that he helped Page at all here.
I don't think he helped himself.
Oh man. I mean, what we got out of this was not what we really wanted, but I mean, when you look at this, I really think that once again, this is just the start, and I think that that's what I'm really kind of putting in my mind. That way, I'm not too depressed about it. But not only that,
hold on, haven't they been feuding for like ever?
No,
this is barely a month old.
Then how is it a grudge match?
I think it was. Well, that's because of the fact that out of nowhere we find out that Page wants to fight him. Okay. Because it goes back to Mr. Wrestling, and all that. That was really brewing before this happened. So,
right.
2 weeks of this, it's just the beginning of the grudge. They built it like a grudge match, but for me personally, watching the TV tapings, it doesn't have enough to it to be a real strong grudge match.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of heat even on the TV build.
Not at all. So, but I mean, it brings me to the next thing, Paul. Here, and as that TV build happened, as we got this, I mean, Page is upset, beating the crap out of security, doing these things. I thought he was the face here. What are they doing with that?
I wish I could tell you. I mean, other than just outright frustration at not only the match being crap, but everything else. Like, nobody cared that he was beating up these guys. I don't think Adam Page cared.
Jeez. We probably spent way too long on this match already.
Yeah, I agree. But, I mean, to me, I'm sorry. It's just interesting because of the Mr. Wrestling stuff and all that has built towards this. There's so much that we, could say about it because of that reason. But you're right, Sean. We have spent a lot of time on this, and I have briefly lost my card. But,
the match was so bad it made Gary lose where he is now.
I know. I'm like, oh my God.
That is a bad match. So up next, it's the Party Peacock Dalton Castle taking on Hiroki Goto.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a victim of some of the card change since Ishii won the belt because originally it was supposed to be Ishii and Goto. They put on a pretty okay match here. I think Dalton was extremely over. Goto got a nice little cheer. You get a lot of back and forth. I think Goto really helped Dalton look impressive here, even though Castle takes the loss. But what did you guys think?
Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, go, Chris.
I thought this was the first good match of the night, which, of course, I had to wait 45 minutes to see it. but I thought obviously Castle was way over. The guy's just awesome. I was interested to see a couple of his boys a little on the heftier side. Maybe they were, they took a little bit of the grace they were feeding, Dalton Castle and ate a lot of them themselves. But I don't know. It was a good match. I feel like Castle should have won, honestly, because I just don't feel like New Japan guys, unless you have a belt like Ishii, should go over on a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. But that's just my opinion. Overall, I thought it was a really good match. It was well done. It was well built. I thought Kota going over was a little surprise to me though at the end.
I agree with. Here's the thing with even if you don't have a belt, somebody like Tanahashi is not going to lose on an ROH show. Just not going to happen. The thing that I have an issue with Goto not losing here is that he's on a depression storyline where he's like lost and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how this hurts him at all if he's lost, that he loses on an ROH show where you can just keep building that up, saying, oh man, he's so out of it that he even lost to this guy on ROH. And it's not somebody you didn't see on the Honor Rising show where you have your own footage to show about Dalton Castle. So to me, I just felt like if you're going to have one match where a New Japan guy loses, it would have been totally okay for Goto to lose here. But that's just me.
Like, wouldn't that have just fed into it more, too? Like, Goto being the only New Japan guy to drop a match over here on the show?
Exactly.
Like, man, opportunity missed for sure.
I totally agree. And, I don't know, maybe they were really doing it as not a favor, but just as a situation where they're trying to get guys interested who are not watching New Japan to go check out him. And maybe they're thinking, man, these guys are really good because there's a lot of New Japan guys going over on this show. That was something I kind of thought maybe more 50-50, but it really wasn't. And so that was one thing I kind of found interesting out of this whole thing. But, that's just me personally. I'm a big Dalton Castle guy. I really enjoy watching him. And, the fact that he didn't win, it doesn't really suck because it's Goto. But if it wasn't someone other than Goto, I may have been kind of bummed out. So, but decent match. It's kind of slow at times, though. Did anybody kind of think that? I just kind of thought this is a lot slower than I mean, of course, I don't watch Goto matches all the time.
Well, Goto's not like, the fastest dude in the West or whatever. I thought this was actually good from perspective that this felt more like it was Dalton trying to prove that he can be serious and he can wrestle somebody. You had a little bit of him doing the boys with them using him as a step stool and stuff, but they weren't like this huge thing like they were in the Liger and Taguchi match where it's much more about comedy. I like the fact that you can switch him around like that. It makes him appeal to a lot more people.
Yeah.
How about that
true.
promo he cut before the match? I thought that was great. That was pretty funny.
Yeah,
I loved it.
We gotta look scary. We gotta look fierce. I'm born with these muscles. I'm not to use them.
Oh man! If there's anything to prove to, if you let's just say this, if there's anything to prove that he would be great at WWE, that's something you'd show because he's great. I love those kind of things. I think that's something people would love. So that is totally true. We should totally, if you don't really watch a lot of Dalton Castle, that's something you got to go see that for sure. We do have another match after this one. We have Alex Shelley versus Christopher Daniels, and of course Kaz is on the outside. And really, we get a lot of interference in this match. Let's just be honest. And it was a pretty decent match here, but let's just get to the end of this match. Chris Sabin does come down and does affect the match. He gets in the way of some of the interruption, and we end up having Alex Shelley win this match. And that means, guess what? Motor City Machine Guns are back. Here we are, people, and they stood strong. Of course, there was a little bit of a brawl after the match was over, but in the end, those guys stand tall. I got to know what you're thinking about this, Paul. Are you happy about the results?
The match is fine when you don't have until So the match is going good, and then Kaz interferes, and then the match finds its way again, and then Kaz interferes, and then the match is finding its way once again, just when you think it's over, and then Kaz interferes again. And I get the point because all that interference led to the turn for Saban to get us back to the Motor City Machine Guns, and obviously now they're gonna have a big match with the Addiction, which should be amazing. But this was almost a chore to get through.
What do you think, Chris? Do you think it was kind of a chore as well?
Yeah, it was it was just there. I felt like it was literally just wasting some minutes just to get to the obviously the big angle at the end where Saban's gonna come down and reunite with Shelley, and which is a good moment. It seemed like it was obviously they got what they wanted, and the crowd reacted well, and it was just a giant angle that kind of had a match kind of built in. Other than that, it wasn't really anything. Sean,
what about you? I mean, there was a time in this match where I thought, man, this is actually going to get better, and it's going to build, and the end of this is going to be really great. And then, kind of like Paul said, interference. Okay, well, let's get this thing back in order, and then interference, and so I don't know. I wasn't thrilled about it.
Yeah, that bothered. It took me out of it. I could never get into the match because of that. It was all for the ending, though, and the ending was satisfying, obviously, but the match was just kind of blah.
Did it bother you, Sean, kind of knowing, and maybe not knowing, maybe that's the wrong thing, but I mean, let's be honest. Paul, we talked about this on W2M last Thursday, and you mentioned this could happen, and Sean, I think you even said that, yeah, you think that was going to happen. The machine guns are going to be back in play. Do you think that took anything away? Because the crowd was already chanting at the beginning of this whole match, Motor City Machine Guns. They were chanting for those guys. Does that take anything away from this?
No, I mean, that's what you kind of knew or thought going in. I mean, I think it was actually Harry the first one to mention it, and then we kind of all agreed with him. But, I mean, look, if we're all saying, yeah, this kind of seems likely, then you know that the smart, the fans that are all the same kind of fans we are going to feel the same thing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me personally, I think that's why they made sure they had Chris Sabin not there. I think they thought, well, everybody kind of knows, so let's keep Chris Sabin in the back until we are ready for him, not having a commentary or anything like that. So, I don't know, just kind of a thought, sitting there watching this match. The next match we have on this card is the Briscoes facing off against Michael Elgin and Tanahashi. So this one was a one. Am I missing one? Did I skip?
No,
I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm making sure. I'm sorry. There was tag matches on this show that I kind of thought, wow, weird placement. But this is okay. I didn't mind this placement of this one. Now, when we get through this, I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was pretty well done. The Briscoes, how can you go wrong with those guys? Not only that, kind of the super team of Michael Elgin and Tanahashi. I really enjoyed the way that those guys had some chemistry here. In the end, though, we do have Michael Elgin and Tanahashi going over and winning this match. I was personally not disappointed. I thought it was fine. I love the ending here. But, I mean, Chris, what did you think about it?
Honestly, it saved the show for me because before this match, the show itself wasn't worth the money I paid on pay-per-view. It was a really good tag match. I love obviously the Briscoes are best in the biz, and Elgin is awesome, and Tanahashi. I mean, you got four really great guys, and the angle is Tanahashi not wanting to shake hands before, because they didn't really have respect for him. Go through the match, they beat the holy hell out of each other. All the finishers, they all kick out of them, and finally, Tanahashi does them in at the end, and he decided to shake hands and they hug and they earn respect. I thought it was a good story along with a really good match. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, completely agree with that sentiment for sure. Sorry. This was the first like this tag match I think really showed the hands for both promotions, which I really enjoyed because it looks like Tanahashi and Elgin are going to make a good run together as a tag team in both promotions, which I'm totally okay with because, one, it keeps Tanahashi over here, which is always going to be awesome, and two, it keeps him away from the singles scene while still making him feel important because now he's working with Elgin to get Elgin over. And if that finish is their finish with the power bomb into the high fly flow, they're going to murder some people, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, totally agree with what both you guys said. I mean, talking to a few people, apparently it's, uh, talking to my friends over at the New Japan Purocast, Mr. Damon, he says that apparently they got big plans for Mr. Big Mike. So this is probably just the start of it. And I hope that we get to see continued, like Paul said, we get to see both of them go with the tag division. I mean, the wrestlers have been great in New Japan. They work. I mean, Mark works so hard to make sure that everything they're doing gets over, and then when Jay comes in, it's just, it turns out to another level. I love the Froggy Bow neckbreaker kick out from Tanahashi, so it gave him a one spot where you thought they might win, where sometimes they don't even do that. They'll just, Tanahashi's going to win, and there's no way it's happening. But just this was a really good match and something that certainly helped the show out, like you guys said.
Definitely. And you know what? I do like these two teams against each other because of the fact they kind of have a mirror image in a way. Not completely, but in a way. You got the big, strong guy, and you got the more agile guy. And I think that's why this works so well, and you were able to have some matchups there that really worked for me personally.
I feel like the way Elgin just like snaps Tanahashi, like he pulls him down and then goes swam, like right on. It's like, jeez. I feel bad for Tanahashi. That probably hurt just as much as the other guy taking it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, but and I'm so happy for Michael Elgin. I mean, this is something that I think he's really going to enjoy. I think he's already enjoying it, but just, not only tagging with a great wrestler like Tanahashi, but just, being a part of New Japan, and now that he's going to be more full-time over there, I just think this is a great move. So, the next match we have on this card is Moose versus Okada. Now, this one was one that I was very interested in because of the fact that Moose is still a new guy. He's still a guy getting adjusted. I think he's getting better. But for him to face off against a main event player like Okada, that was one question I had in my mind. But over, the process of this match and the way it worked out, I was not too upset. I think that Moose kind of held his own in this, and we get Okada getting the Rainmaker. He misses one, which I thought was kind of cool. I'm glad they kind of did that spot, but the next one he hit the Rainmaker and did win this match. But I mean, Sean, tell me, what did you really think about it?
This was really good. I think we're done seeing Moose pretend to be pro wrestler. Moose is now officially a pro wrestler. He never looked out of place here with Okada. Of course, that helps when you've got freaking Kazuchika Okada giving you everything. I mean, he took a lot here. He gave him a buckle bomb. He, of course, did his springboard, that springboard cross out of the to counter the Rainmaker was great. I mean, Okada like leapfrogging the spear was pretty awesome. So they definitely did have the freaking drop kick that Moose hits is insane. Like, Okada is 6'3". Okada's not a short dude at all. And Moose almost goes over his head while Okada is perched on the top rope. That is crazy, people. Just letting you know how athletic Moose is if you've never seen him. That dude is insane.
What did you think, Chris?
Oh, absolutely. I thought I was really interested to see this match. I felt like, when I first heard it, I was like, oh man, like I hope Moose isn't going to be seen like, really out of place, and he's going to look bad against, one of the best in the world. He held his own. He looked great. Like Sean said, that drop kick was amazing. Especially, I love how they teased it up too. Like, they kind of go for it and they kind of back off, go for it, back off, and then he finally hits it, and the whole match is really good. Moose didn't, like Sean said, Moose didn't seem out of place whatsoever. I really think this was his coming out party. Again, it's one of the best in the world. He can hold his own. I think he holds his own anyway at this point. It was a good match. It was a really good match. I enjoyed it a lot.
I think the
Paul?
thing that impressed me most about Moose in this match was sort of how he tied the whole package together. Because not only was his wrestling on point, which we've seen get better and better as the months have gone by since we started covering Ring of Honor on here, but also the showman part. He's getting down the right times when to go for the Moose part. Him and Okada sort of trading their taunts, I thought was really good. And it seemed to flow almost effortlessly from both guys, which is really what you want to see. But I mean, Moose also somehow managed to nail down the role of plucky underdog when ROH has done nothing but build him up as this giant beast. And only against somebody like Okada could that happen. So, this was a great match.
Yeah, it was, and it was a fun one to watch for sure. And I just, like I said, I was thrilled to see that Moose is getting better, and just the way it all worked out. I was a little concerned going into it, just because I just I know the talents of Okada. I know he could probably slow down a little bit, but I just think that they really outdid themselves in this, and so great match overall. Let's go ahead and move on to the Never Open Weight Championship match here. This is a 6-man tag, and we'll have the Bullet Club Elite, which includes, of course, that's Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks facing off against Kushida, Matt Sydal, and, of course, blanking on the other one. ACH, yes. So here, this one, wow, this was an amazing match. This was a match that, I was just thrilled to see. I don't want to say all the spots. I'm going to let you guys give some of the spots, but man, the ending to this, Paul, was amazing. I was thrilled. And we got, of course, the Bullet Club winning.
This, when you hear me on these previews or whatever talk about a match with all the flippies, sometimes you don't get as many flippies as I hype up. This one you certainly did. I don't think there were, six pairs of feet touching the canvas at any point in the entire 17 minutes this match ran. ACH and Kushida were really good, but I think the standout here was Sydal, who just perfectly nailed down the babyface Imperial and then got to come roaring back, fighting out of the Tiger Tori special, and almost single-handedly getting the win for the team at one point, which had me almost jumping out of my seat. So this is a great match. This is probably the best match ROH has put on all year.
Wow, that's pretty high praise. Chris, you watched this. What did you think about it? Did you think it was that great?
Oh yeah, it was great. Of course, I'm biased. I'm a huge fan of Kenny Omega, but I feel like nothing ties together a match better than Kushida telling the Young Bucks to suck it.
I forgot to ask Gary how this was on the suck it meter.
Oh, it was amazing. And 11 super kicks.
It was just, the match itself it was awesome. Everything about it. And everything was just so hot. The crowd was so hot for it. You can tell the crowd was just, they were looking forward to this match the entire night. And just everything about it was just great. I loved, trying to think of the best spot. Probably, it's tough to say. I'd have to say the German onto the ramp. I think it was to Sydal, if I believe, or it was either Sydal or ACH.
It was Sydal.
That Omega did.
They super kicked him off, and then he did the...
God. Yeah, and he super kicked him, and then Omega had from behind and just Germaned him onto the ramp, which I thought he broke in half. And I was just like, wow. But that was one of the best spots for me. The whole match was great. It was the best of the night, easily by far.
Yeah, it's just, this was, I think Chris, both of them kind of hit it. This was the match everybody was waiting for. You could immediately tell, Kenny Omega, man, this guy looks like an absolute star coming out of this. Everybody's waiting for him to show up. Like, the star is born right there. Just everybody's like, okay, we're just waiting for Kenny Omega to finish his little entrance here and come on down the ramp. And he takes his sweet time, he's soaking that all in. And just, everybody was great here. Just everybody worked well with each other. New Day sucks chants going on. The Elite chants in the New Day format. I mean, we're really going hard with this New Day. I mean, I think the internet will explode about 10 times over if that match happens. The ACH was kind of fun in here too. He doing his Stone Cold impression, and his like through the ropes like flatliner thing was awesome, and just the C4 that freaking Seidel does is crazy. I mean, it's so and I love the way they did the finish too. Omega like tombstones Kushida, and he's like frozen, like what the hell do I do now? And then they super kick him, and that gets the fatality. So just man, just this is I don't know if this will ever become available to where you can watch it somewhere. But this is the match you need to go watch, because we're going to be talking about this one probably for a while. And then everybody that keeps complaining about why you changed those six-man titles around, I bet you weren't complaining after this match was over.
And speaking of Omega's entrance, I love how he puts the headset on the broom for the color commentary.
Oh, yeah. He's like, oh, and Kevin Kelly was like, oh, well, the cleaning apparatus is now the color commentaries.
And Sean, you asked me earlier about the suck-it meter. I would try to think of my scale here, but I'll say it was at least to the 6th power. I loved it. I love the suck-its. They were pretty crazy tonight. Let's think about the fact that this was a match that I really didn't think anything of that. I really didn't think they were going to do all that, and it ended up being everything involved. That's why it was thrilling, and maybe I have to almost agree with Paul so far, just kind of thinking back for this year. I mean, we're still early in this year, if you're talking January and February, but definitely may have to be the best match, plus those suckets. Let's go ahead and move on to the World Tag Team Championships, guys. Here we got the All Night Express facing off against those tag champs. That's right. The guys that I think are pretty amazing. War Machine. And, we get a pretty decent match here. I didn't think it was all that bad. Kind of hard to follow the previous match. Let's be honest. The previous match was pretty good, but I think they have, a few good things in here. One of the things I'll point out was Hanson going to that table. Pretty crazy. I think Kenny King went through a ladder. I mean, this is a no DQ match, so you're going to get a chance to see all that take place. But in the end, it is going to be the champs themselves winning. That's right. We get War Machine with a fallout to win this match. I have to say, I've got to give credit to both tag teams, but I'm a big fan of the All Night Express. I really am. I think those guys did a pretty darn good job here. But I'm fine with War Machine, keeping those belts. Chris, what did you think of this?
It was a good match. Especially after the six-man tag, I feel like it was a little out of place because I don't think it should have been a cool-down match. This would have been a good place for the TV title match. But it was a really good match. A lot of cool spots. Kenny King going through the ladder was great, and it was just when the ladder just snaps into three pieces, it was a hard hit and it had to hurt. And of course, it's always fun seeing big brawny dudes go through tables because the table just shattered into a million pieces. I wasn't shocked that War Machine retained. I figured they were going to, but overall, it was a good match. I just feel like it was, I was still recovering from that six-man tag. So I was like, I was stuck in kind of neutral for this match.
Yeah, Sean. As you were watching this, did you think some of the spots were to your liking? How did you enjoy those spots?
It was, the problem is that the crowd didn't give two craps. It's not, and this wasn't to me, the whole night, I felt like they were there to see the New Japan guys, and, they just didn't really care so much about the ROH stuff. But to be fair, all the undercard feuds were not built up very well. So you can kind of throw that out there too. But Like, just I think this is just like a traveling crowd, and they're there for who they want to see. And then you have guys out there killing themselves. Poor, like everybody throwing through tables, and poor Kenny King goes through a freaking Uranagi through a ladder bridge, and like no one does anything. And like first time you kick out a fallout, and you could have heard a pin drop. I mean, that's so bad. And you can blame it on whatever you want to blame it on. There's a lot to blame it on going around, but I feel bad for those guys because they actually had a good match. It's just you wouldn't have known it with the crowd not caring at all.
Well, yeah. And you're right, Sean. I think it has everything to do with the crowd, the traveling crowd. But I think a lot of it too. You have to give it credit. It is the card placement of these guys. I mean, it just to me. Earlier in the match, in the entire show, probably would have been great second match.
I mean, I think you opened the show with this match personally, because this sort of match, I think, would have gotten the crowd going in the right way. Because these guys went out here and put on one heck of a show-stopping performance. And it would have been if the crowd cared, but they didn't. And I mean, personally, I found myself having a hard time getting into this because This feud wasn't built very well at all, and just I don't know. Like it's appreciated that these guys went out there and killed each other for the 12 minutes that they got, but man, the wrong place, wrong time, and not enough into it to really make people care.
Yeah, it is kind of a situation where you kind of feel bad for these guys because they put so much hard work into it. I think we're all saying it was a good match. It's just after that big high you just came off of with the open weight championship match there. Now you're going to this, and it's just not that height that you were at before. So I don't know. It's just kind of depressing in a way because those guys deserve all the props. So. Let's move on, though. We have the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship on the line, and Jay Lethal and the House of Truth are showing up to try to find a way to retain this belt against Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, baby. So we, get a match that I think was pretty good. But to me, I was a little surprised with the time length that these guys had in a way. There were other matches on this card that got plenty of time. I was a little bit surprised in a way because I really thought this was going to be a little bit longer, a little bit drawn out match. But in the end, we do come to where Jay Lethal is able to hit. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the final. What's the
Lethal combination?
Lethal injection.
Injection. But what? How do he had a special name for it though? I thought it was a combo. When he hits it with two people, doesn't he have a special?
It's just a double lethal injection.
It's just called a double lethal injection. Okay, I apologize.
That's what the move
I thought
would
he
be
had a
called
special
when
name
you.
for it.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was some kind of special name he.
No, because the
for,
thing where he does the flatliner and the whatever, that's the lethal combination, and then. Yeah.
Okay, that's where I'm getting confused. There you go. Perfect. So anyway, we do have Jay Lethal retaining, which I'm okay with. I think a lot of us had predicted here Adam Cole. I think we did from what I'm remembering. But that's just the way it all kind of felt like it was falling into place.
What's so weird to me is I didn't know that there was so much like hate for this title reign, because there's a lot of people that I've seen like that they're like, oh, I'm not watching ROH again until Lethal loses the title. And I'm just like, I've enjoyed Lethal's reign. I don't know. I mean, it was just surprising to me.
I think, it's not been the most exciting reign by any stretch, but it's a classic heel run. And if you're a fan of classic heel runs, then this is totally the reign for you.
I just kind of felt like, obviously, there was more to be done with O'Reilly and Cole when it was over. Like, the whole point of this was that they weren't done dealing with each other, so they couldn't focus on Lethal, and Lethal took advantage, And so now they can continue to kind of have their feud going on, and then you have one of them face off with Lethal instead.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I thought this match was good. It should have been longer. I've been a fan, despite what people say, I've been a fan of Jay Lethal's run the entire time. I saw him win the title last May, or was it May or June, whenever it was. Against Jay Briscoe. That was a great match. I think Jay Lethal has proved himself to be the best, and obviously one of the, if not the best, guy on the card every night. And I think it's going to be interesting to see who finally does take the belt from Lethal, because I don't know if anyone's really on his level at this point. I've been saying for years now that Kyle O'Reilly is a future ROH champion. I don't know why. I just see it. I just see it in him. I don't know. I don't know who's going to take it. I was thinking there might have been a title change last night just because it's been almost a year. People were kind of starting to backlash a little bit. So when he first won the title, it was, Jay Lethal champion, and everyone was excited about it. And it seems like the last 3 or 4 months, everyone's been hating on it, and not sure why, but, I just feel like it was, if they're going to do a title change, I thought, Adam Cole's going to be the guy, but I'm not sure now who, unless you revisit Cole later. But, overall, I thought it was a decent match. It had some good, and a lot of good spots. I thought Kyle O'Reilly looked really good, and, Adam Cole, everyone looked good. It's just, it was, I just feel like it was honestly a disappointing end to a disappointing show, overall, in my opinion.
I thought this was one of the better matches on the show. Lethal playing third party to the feud between Cole and O'Reilly, I thought was entertaining. Mostly because even though the Lethal's the champion, Cole and O'Reilly were pretty much dead set on trying to kill each other. And that really made for an entertaining 12, 13-minute match here. I don't think length was the problem here. I wouldn't have planned this match out any differently, so I think this was entirely fine for what it was and everything that ROH needed it to be.
They did run out of time. They were the last match on the show, and they had about, I want to say, without entrances, kind of pretty much what Paul said. So you're having to take it from something that probably would have been a slower build to something that's just constant action. And for what they had to do, I thought this was great. You had some cool double team spots that the O'Reilly putting the armbar on Cole so he can't win. That was cool. And then the big ankle lock spot, or he has him in the triangle choke, and then he has Cole in the ankle lock, and Cole has to keep Lethal from putting his arm down the third time. That was pretty awesome. They had some good stuff in here. I thought that telling the story, especially the part where Adam Cole he gets out to keep hitting O'Reilly, it was like, oh, okay, obviously you guys are not focusing on what you're supposed to be. And I think they told a really good story here. I think maybe it's because I got invested in that, and, I kind of didn't focus so much on, oh man, normally these main events should be going 20, 25 minutes. I think for what the package was, it was pretty great. You have this and the 6-man tag are probably your only big standout matches, but still, at least your main event delivered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you guys are completely right. Time limit really did not matter. It wasn't. The reason I pointed it out really was because as I was watching this and I'm looking at the timestamp where I'm at after the match before this one, the tag match, and I'm thinking, wow, there's just not a lot of time left really for a main event. I'm thinking there's going to be a screw finish here. I thought there was going to be some wacky situation where these guys don't end up having a complete match and we're left with a kind of a sour ending, and it really wasn't. It was actually pretty well done, and and I'm completely cool and happy with the way it ended. I think Jay Lethal in his title run is great. Very happy for it. I just need to remember his, finishers. it's so funny. I hate also having a card that only tells me such and such defeated such and such. So I need to have. So that's all. That's really helps me when I'm thinking about these finishers. So, but anyway, that is rounds out your card here. And so what we're really going to kind of do here is like we do on all these specials. We're going to kind of mention the best match of the night and the worst match of the night. And it is obvious that the 6-man tag, the Never Openweight Championship match was the best. The Bullet Club Elite did such a great job. Christopher, you talked about Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and just everything that they did in this match. You got to give it credit to everything we also from the other guys, ACH, Matt Sydal, and of course Kushida. But I mean, Christopher, kind of give me an idea why you think that this match definitely deserves the match of the night over all these other matches.
It delivered in every way. I feel like it's the biggest. I feel like all some of the biggest stars between the two companies. I mean, you got Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, who are obviously completely on top of their game. Then you got Sydal and Kushida and ACH. I mean, just all 6 guys are obviously big time guys, and to have a match like they did with just the showmanship. And the crowd was hot, and and in my opinion, the crowd is a big factor for how I rate matches. If the crowd's really into it, it seems like the performers feed off that, and they go that extra little mile, and it just. But if the crowd's really dead, it just seems like they just don't seem like they have the drive that they do. But if it's a hot crowd, it really seems to help the match, and it was a great crowd for that match anyway. Which is why I give it the best match of the night.
Definitely. We did kind of have to think about the worst match of the night since we had a best match of the night, and that's where we come to a place where actually everybody kind of sounded like that the world TV title here was the bummer.
No, the grudge match was worse than that.
You think the grudge match was worse than that?
The grudge match was completely worse than that match.
Miles worse.
Miles.
Okay. Well, we talked pre-show, and you guys said that the opener was the suckiest, so I'm...
No, I don't remember saying that, but maybe we did say that.
I disagree with you guys.
Yeah.
I disagree. Oh, wow. I am surprised. I think that the length of the Ishii match, it just was not there. I think it had more potential. I don't know. I didn't have a problem with Adam Page. Okay, so Christopher, you got 2 against. Are you agreeing with these guys? Do you think that the Page and Whitmer match was the worst?
Yeah, I do. I just feel like it was a dud. It just seemed like it was there. It didn't seem like it was. It should have been a TV match. There wasn't any room for that on a big pay-per-view, especially an anniversary show like this. It didn't work. I mean, I would much rather watch, Ishii, and at least I enjoy, watching Ishii and, Bobby Fish work. So, I mean, it's just like, it's definitely, it was the worst match of the night.
Okay, there you go, people. That is the worst match of the night. I'm in a little bit different category here. I think I have become more of a fan of Adam Page, and maybe I'm giving him more credit than I should. But I was not thrilled at that first match at all. I just didn't care. I could have done without even watching it, honestly. Right. So there you go. So, all right, guys. Well, let's move on and do some MVP. We got to do our rating. Well, we do. We got to do an MVP before you do your rating.
Oh yeah, we do.
So let's get the MVP out of the way, Sean. So who's your MVP?
Can we just give it to? I guess if I had to give it to one person, I'd have to give it to Kenny Omega, but I kind of think we need to nominate all 6 people in that 6-man tag.
I think that's fair. I think to me, if it's a tag team, I think you can give it to the entire tag team.
Or well, yeah, I guess you give it to the Elite, all of them together. Yeah.
What about you, Chris? Or Paul? Go ahead.
If it was me in that match, it's Matt Sydal as the MVP of the show. I think without him, the crowd wanted to see the Elite. Without Matt Sydal, though, playing the great babyface in peril that he did and almost making the comeback to nobody on this show was on Matt Seidel's level the entire night.
Fair enough.
I was very impressed with Seidel. You bring up a good point. What about you, Chris?
I mean, it's really hard to rank all 6 of those guys, higher than the other. So since everyone's going with that match, I'm going to go somewhere different. I'm going to say Jay Lethal, just because he retained his title, and put on a good match. Obviously you're retaining your title, making your reign, last another day is always a big feat. So I'm going to say Jay Lethal, just for sake of it.
All right, I like that, Chris. For me personally, looking back at the card, I've got to go B.J. Whitmer.
What?
I'm hanging up right now.
I think I'm gonna
I'm just messing around. I'm joking, everyone. I'm just kidding. No, honestly, I'm with Sean. I think the Bullet Club Elite, just an excellent job. The suck it meter was off the charts. Just everything, 11 super kicks, just the excitement that those guys put in it. Plus the other side, I keep talking about it. It's, in a way, I wish I could just elect all the guys in that match the MVP. I got to go with the winners, though, here. Bullet Club Elite, for me, is the winners for MVP. So we go from here, though, guys, and we're going to rate this show. And this is a fun part because everybody either has a very similar or a little bit different. But, Chris, we're going to let you start this thing off. What are you rating this?
It started off really slow, but it started to pick up, and I think it got decent. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Obviously, it was the 6-man tag. Obviously, the main event was good. I feel like the tag match was good too. All Night Express and War Machine was really good. So yeah, I think towards the middle and the end of the show, it started picking up. So I give it a 7 out of 10.
All right, Paul, what do you got?
I think I'm at a 6.5. 4 of your matches on here are worth your time. The main event, the 6-man, Okada Moose, and the tag between Elgin and Tanahashi and the Briscoes. Everything else you could sort of take or leave, and especially you could leave Whitmer and Adam Page off the card. But, I mean, there's booking problems, there's card placement issues. This was kind of a mess of a show that was sort of saved on the back of some tremendous wrestling matches.
To me, the part of the problem here is this doesn't feel like a 14th anniversary show. This felt more like we just had a third Honor Rising or Global Wars Part 1, or it just did not feel big to me. It didn't feel like this big pay-per-view that we all need to watch. But to be fair, I don't know that I would have been able to convince Gary to help to plop down, for all of us to plop down the money if there wasn't New Japan people involved. Just because $35 is a lot of money to plop down for ROH, where they have not built their feuds very well. The only thing that was built well was the main event, and that's why you got a lot of reaction from the fans and everything else. And I just think that this is something that ROH really needs to think about. When you get out of May, you have the same issue where you have New Japan people there. It's either you gotta lower the price for your pay-per-views if you're not gonna have New Japan people there, or I don't know, but $35, $45 if you want to watch on HD on your cable, and even $27 if you watch on your PS4. I mean, that's a lot of money. And you're looking at New Japan World, it's $8. WWE Network is $10 for a show that wasn't nowhere near. I gave it a 7 too, just because I thought the Goto and Castle match was a little bit better, and I kind of enjoyed everything else other than the 3 undercard ROH matches were kind of just blah. But that's a problem. That's a big problem. We're sitting here talking about the only ROH only match that really stands out as your main event. That's something that you need to look at Delirious and whoever else is involved with that and say, what's wrong with my company here? and you need to look at your show outside of what's going on with whatever Gedo brings with New Japan and say that if my show had these matches without those guys, would people still want to watch this? And I can't say that I would.
Yeah, I mean, you guys all bring up great points. I'm at a 6, and I think that it really does boil down to, for me, the opener was not quality. In fact, that was a kickoff match, if you ask me. Then you go on and you get to some of the card placement, especially like we talked about, that the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship belts are up for grabs after an amazing 6-man tag open weight championship match, and I just, that really bummed me out because I think those guys worked their butts off. I think they deserve some credit, some hype, and they just didn't get it because of what they had to follow. The main event was just fine. It did great, but I mean, besides that, the rest of the card was there. So really, that's where it boils down to me, and it's a 6. And I totally agree with what Sean just said. It did not feel like an anniversary show. If anything, this felt like a Let's Praise New Japan show, which is fine. I love New Japan, but to me, I thought it should have been more of a 50-50.
But that's the thing, though. ROH they feel honored to be having New Japan as a partner, and I think anybody would.
Yeah.
But I think in a way they're a little bit too afraid to stand their ground and say, hey, this is our show, and maybe you do fight for Goto losing to Dalton Castle. Maybe you do place things a little bit differently so that your matches are of, they're the ones that seem more important. I don't know. I think also you make the mistake of making it in Las Vegas where you're not going to have your hardcore ROH guys. You're going to have a bunch of people that want to come just see the New Japan guys. And that makes a difference in the crowd. It makes a difference to who they care about and care about the matches.
That's true. And the argument I want to have about the New Japan and Ring of Honor guys working together, this is not the first time. And this is not the first time that they've worked together as a Ring of Honor show. And they've done just fine. To me, this one really kind of stood out. It's just all New Japan. So I don't know why they changed the formula or what, but previous years that they've had together, it was not like this. Didn't feel like this. So, but like I said, not a bad show. Really. Go ahead.
About just overall.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Well,
that's
about
what
New
Gary was
Japan.
talking about.
See, I mean, a lot of the matches the New Japan guys were in, they should have won. The only one I would have fought for would have been Castle and Goto. Ishii retaining, I think, works. It keeps the TV title interesting. Moose has no business going over Okada, but Okada certainly did Moose a ton of favors.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're building to something with Elgin and Tanahashi in both promotions. And obviously, I mean, the Elite are the guys to keep the 6-man belts on right now. So I mean, there's no problem with letting the New Japan guys go over. Like I said, outside of maybe you let Dalton Castle get the win over Goto, but everything else I think was fine, result wise. Other problems plagued the show.
Well, but what else? The whole, how it makes ROH kind of look sometimes like second rate to New Japan on their own show. Just.
Well, I'll let Paul. I want Paul to answer now. I'll say.
So I mean, if you watch Ring of Honor and you just watch Ring of Honor and you look at the matches that they have going against the New Japan guys, there's really the only, and you maybe could make a case for the Briscoes going over too. Because I mean, I certainly thought they were, because they're going to have them challenge next for the belts, but maybe they're going to go the other way and do Elgin and Tanahashi, which is interesting. And maybe you have Dalton go over there, and that's the only one, because that makes sense for both promotions too. I don't think it makes them look second rate. I think it makes sense, and especially if you watch Ring of Honor, it makes sense. Just flat out.
Fair enough. I think also if you put this together and you know that you've got a bunch of guys from a different promotion, and the way you, like Paul's saying, it makes sense to work out that way. You kind of take your own medicine. You get what you get for what you put together. So I can kind of see your point there, Paul.
What do you think, Chris?
It's
Just,
What's that?
what do you think about all this stuff here that we kind of discussed?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, overall, I think New Japan has, when you mix shows like they did last night or the other night, and I just feel like it's supposed to be like a kind of special attraction kind of thing. I don't feel like I just feel, I don't know, it's just me, but I feel like mixing the belts, it kind of makes it kind of like, why even call it ROH anymore? Just call it ROH New Japan. Like, just mix the names and have them one big company. I mean, I know they do a lot of interpromotional stuff, but I feel like if it's going to be your ROH 14th anniversary show, I mean, it should be mainly ROH guys. You can throw some New Japan guys in there. But I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like overall New Japan has more talent right now than ROH does as a whole. So I feel like when you have, when you're going to get those, unless you're in a strictly ROH city, you go to, you're going to get people just mainly cheering or, looking to see the New Japan guys. So I think it takes away from your company a little bit.
Yeah.
And
I think
agree
that was
with
kind of the only reason they could even justify that price, was because they had New Japan guys on it.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Right.
I saw Omega on it, and that's the reason. I mean, I personally paid $45 just because I got it on HD. And I didn't, it was just like one of those things that, I wasn't doing anything. My wife was busy doing something. Kids were in bed. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? But, so it's like, it's just, if the New Japan guys weren't on there, I would have really had to look at the card and be like, him and Oliver. But, I mean, the New Japan guys are a big draw, and I think ROH really is using that to their advantage. But I think also you got to be smart about it. And I think it needs to be more of a special occasion thing than I mean, if it's your, I just feel like if it's your anniversary show, it's your ROH birthday. It shouldn't involve mostly New Japan guys.
Yeah, and just
Chris, you bring
FYI for you, don't, you can just save $10. It's also HD on the website.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Chris, you bring up a great point, and I think you're right. It's kind of the Ring of Honor birthday, and it should be primarily Ring of Honor guys, but you also pointed out the fact that these New Japan guys are what's really making people purchase this. I think Ring of Honor must have felt the same way, that really, I mean, Paul, we watch this week in and week out. We watch Ring of Honor consistently, and the stories they're building are not really ready for this show. They're really not. I mean, we just talked about it when we were talking about the fact that one of the feuds just started 2 weeks ago, a grudge match, and really wasn't built to be a grudge match yet. So things like that, I think, hinder it, and I think that, if it just would have been strictly Ring of Honor guys, this would have been a way worse show. Do you agree or disagree, Paul?
I think the New Japan talent certainly added a lot, and it helps when a lot of your best guys in Ring of Honor are also in New Japan. So, I mean, that's the way it is. I certainly would have felt like this would have been a worse show without the New Japan guys.
Yeah.
I mean, without the New Japan guys, we wouldn't have had the 6-man.
Yep.
Yeah, you would.
You're exactly right.
You would have had the main event, and that would have been your one big match on the show.
That'd have been it.
Mm-hmm. All she wrote, right? So, well, that is Ring of Honor 14th anniversary, and I love this controversy. I love the topics. I love disagreeing because, sometimes we agree a lot. So I'm a fan of sometimes having these kind of controversial discussions. I like it. But, we've got a little bit more to do here, guys. We covered the Ring of Honor 14th anniversary, but we have some New Japan news. We want to get you filled in on that. And so, Sean, go ahead and take it away with some of the big topics coming out our way.
Well, just basically, it's not really a whole lot of news. It's more like Naito and Ibushi had interviews, and Ibushi talked about like just his whole why did he stop doing the thing with New Japan and DDT. He said it just the stuff just wears you down, burns you out. I thought, why am I doing this at both companies? It was more to be independent, but I'm not benefiting from it, and nobody else is either. So I had to graduate to whatever he is that he's graduating to. He does have an interesting take on what he wants his institute to be, his research institute, which is what he's calling his promotion. He says he wants to study wrestling and make it evolve and create something completely new, and question about, do we need 3 ropes? How can I make it something pro wrestling but make it different? Because this current style has exhausted me, and I want to really expand pro wrestling so that it's, I guess, different than what we see it as. And I mean, can you really do? I mean, we've already seen, like, we get the 6-sided, we get the all that with TNA and with Lucha. Can you really do anything? So, I mean, we already see, like, Lucha Underground kind of did it with a totally different way of shooting the show and all that. I mean, is there really anything totally different that doesn't make it to where just this isn't wrestling?
I mean, if there's a way, he's going to find one. Whether it's in a 3-dimensional ring with 4,000 ropes and something weird happening on the outside. I mean, it's Japan, and we see all sorts of weird stuff coming out of there. And 2, if this is what he wants to do, I'm sure he's going to find a way to make it different.
Being Japan, could you imagine this? A ring that may not even have ropes, but it has robots on the outside swinging kendo sticks towards the inside of the ring?
Sounds like something
I would
DDT
watch the crap
do.
out of that.
Just think about the middle of the ring could, like, elevate and twist and maybe throw people off on the tables. I don't know. It's cool, though. I mean, I really think that Ishii's onto something here, and I'm excited. I want to know what this guy is going to do. I'm sure it's going to be great.
He did say he was jealous a little bit of Nakamura leaving. He said that he could have wished he could have been able to make a decision like that in his career, which kind of makes me think that's why he did the whole going independent, because it's about the closest thing he could do. He did talk about, like, that had he only been a DDT guy, he would have been really pissed about what Tanahashi said about Harashima not taking his match with him seriously. But the fact that he works in both companies kind of made it to where it didn't bother him as much. I mean, like, Chris, you weren't on for us to talk about, like, what do you think about, do you think he winds up in that global cruiserweight thing? Do you think he might show up for a couple of just stuff on NXT or something?
I mean, honestly, I would say yes, because I mean, WWE's got some money to throw around, and if he wants to open up this new school or do, develop any whatever new, weird, psychedelic ring he wants to do, or arena or wrestling style, he's obviously going to need funding in some sort of way. I would see taking a quick paycheck to have a couple matches in NXT. It broadens your horizons. You might meet somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, around the world. I don't see why he wouldn't. But since he's not tied down to anybody, that's if WWE's even interested in him, which I don't see why they wouldn't be. But I would say yes.
What do you think, Fall? Do you think he winds up there at all? Do you think this is just people wishing?
I think that the possibility alone is tantalizing enough. Because it coming out now and him being here, and where he's at. It could happen. Like realistically, it could happen. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I don't know how global. Like I know Triple H says he's thinking globally. I don't know how globally that reaches.
Well, I'm sure
You
if
know,
Nakamura is saying, "Hey, there's this dude called Kota Ibushi. Here's some of his matches, even matches against me," and all he has to tell is tell Tensai, and I'm sure Tensai would get in Triple H's ear, and I mean, I don't know that it would be too difficult for it to happen.
I'm not saying it's the difficulty. I'm saying it's how globally is he thinking. Is he looking at another guy from Japan right now, or is he looking more Western? Is he looking towards England and Germany and all these other where there are a lot of great guys to choose from, or is he just looking at the guys who show up around the Indies here in the States? I mean, we won't know until we get there.
Totally. And Ibushi's a great talent. He's a great guy, but I think I agree with you, Paul, because I'm thinking, wow, that's an awful quick hire of another New Japan guy this fast after just signing Nakamura. Now, if we're talking a year from now, I could understand it, but right now at this juncture, I think they want to see how their project with Nakamura is going to work out before they're throwing money at another New Japan guy.
Yeah, I agree with you guys on that. I think we kind of do see him, though. I think it's like too much of an opportunity for him at least not to do it once, So, Naito, I think he was totally in character doing this interview, which makes it awesome, by the way, because he takes shots at Nakamura. He's like, look, I joined NJ because I love NJ. I don't want to wrestle anywhere else. Maybe that's not true, but I wouldn't leave for another Fed. Nakamura should just leave for a few years, Let's see what happens if he comes back or whatever. Naito even talks about he wants fried chicken. I'm not joking. He talks about wanting fried chicken really bad, about like 3 or 4 times, Gary. So,
Oh man, I could introduce him to a guy named the Colonel that could really hook him up.
Man, I would pay for some Naito doing
you know
that.
what? Maybe we should send him some chicken. I think that's a good idea. I mean, Naito is going to be a world champion, and to me, he deserves the world champion. So I think we should send him some chicken.
Naito got mad at Kadani for doing his saying that he thinks that he shouldn't have been telling everybody that he was going to spend all this money on Okada. I'm not going to be Kadani's golden boy, but I better say something or nobody else is going to. He has quite a lot of fun little things to say in here. I posted it in the group to like Chris Charlton. Chris Charlton did both of the translations for the one about Ibushi that I already talked about and this one with Naito. So you can find them in the group in there. Yeah, basically Naito wants to start his own fried chicken place, Gary. So
magical.
I love it. What can it be called? The evil chicken or something? I don't know.
Yeah, the pollo tranquilo. There you go.
There you go.
Sounds good.
Somebody asked him if he's going to use that Stardust press, and he's like, "You just need to be tranquilo about that." Like, yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of stuff. I can't really go through it, but one thing I did want to like bring up, because it doesn't really have to do with New Japan, but I thought this was cool because I hope that eventually this is going to be what I think it's going to be for a lot of wrestling places. But the fact that we're having another Japanese Stardom, which is like probably one of the most popular Joshi promotions in all of out there in Japan, for $4.99 a month, you can watch all of their shows going forward on YouTube on their We Are Stardom channel, or it's called Stardom World. Sorry. So and you get all of their little backstage thing, which they're going to try to make all in English for you to understand. Obviously, there's going to be promos in Japanese and stuff during or after the matches, but for the most part, it's going to be done mostly in English so everybody can understand. And I think that's kind of cool because that's something that not even New Japan does right now, where they have Access and everything. Which, did you guys notice, they promoted Access quite a bit on that ROH show too. So, you know, but what do you think? Like, do you think that eventually it's all going to be streaming services for this kind of thing? Or, like, let's say in 5 or 10 years, are we all looking at, God, do I want to spend $5 or $10 on Dragon Gate today? Or do I want to, you know, isn't it going to be more expensive that way?
I think everything is heading that way. It's not just wrestling; it's television. I'm sure like Warner Brothers and companies like that are going to start making subscription channels, and stuff like Netflix might slowly find its way being phased out after being a forerunner and all this. But for wrestling, it makes a lot of sense, especially if you have global products that you're trying to get out there and attract as many fans as possible, and stuff like WWN, I hope becomes more of a thing where you have these conglomerates rather than just one for each promotion, unless they're large enough. But I don't have a problem with it at all. I thought about it just because I don't watch a lot of Josie, and I'd love to watch more Stardom, but I barely have time with WWE Network and my Chikara streaming service that I have. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. Go ahead, Chris.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that's where everything's going, like Paul said. I think WWE Network really kind of was it was a testing ground. Now that's being really successful. I think, New Japan followed in footsteps, and, I'm really shocked that TNA hasn't done it yet, honestly, because I feel like they can get more viewers that way than on Pop TV. But, I think eventually with so many wrestling promotions all around the world, I think that's definitely the easiest way to get your name out there, get your talent out there, and, get your product viewed by, by everybody possible that's interested in it in any which way or form.
As long as these, smaller groups would be combined onto one network or one service, I'd be totally down. It's just when you start nickel and diming, $5 here, $10 here, $10 here, $9.99 here, $5 here, that starts to add up, and that makes it more difficult. I think the way that people find success is to kind of come together. WWE makes sense because they are big enough to where they've got a lot of content. They've got a lot to put out there for people to specifically say, yes, it's worth it. For groups like that, any group, I would love to even see in America to have the American wrestling companies that are smaller come together and just have their network, so people can watch all these different shows. I think it could be great. I think it's smart. And I think it would help business personally. I really think it would. I think people would be more willing to go spend money on these shows that they've never heard of. So
I agree with you,
that's
Gary.
wise.
It's just like when you think about it and you go, how many streaming services do I already pay for? And then you go, how many more can I really honestly pay for? Where it doesn't become... Like, seriously, I think it's going to be kind of the point where... the only way you're going to be able to pay for a bunch of streaming services, you have to just cut cable. Because it's just like, I have Netflix, Hulu, New Japan World, Network, Crunchyroll, and just with that, and then I'm sitting there going, my God, paying that early termination fee just keeps looking nicer and nicer every time I look at it. It's just...
No. But see, that's the thing. I always tell people, say, well, if it goes all subscription-based, you're cutting the cord doesn't really matter because you're still spending the same amount if you're having to buy 20 different channels. That's just, let's be honest, the math is going to add up eventually. But yes, I agree and I thought the same thing because right now it's affordable to cut the cord. But like Paul's saying, let's take Warner Brothers and they do phase out Netflix. Oh my God, I'm going to have to buy Paramount. I'm going to have to buy Universal. All these different companies that are out there, all the different movie companies. That's going to be a pain just to watch different movies that I want to see or different TV shows I want to see. It's going to be painful.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you have the DVD thing, but I think if you just have the streaming thing, it's not like they have a bunch of movies that come on there. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying if Netflix was phased out and you're set to, I can only buy these different companies,
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, but do we have any other news or anything?
I think that's pretty much it because the other stuff is stuff we should probably save for the regular show.
Okay. For sure.
So.
Speaking of, we, of course, have our Wrestling to the Max every Thursday night. We want everybody to go check out that. We are going to talk everything WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA, New Japan, in fact, a little bit here and there, but we really do
starts
talk
on Thursday morning.
Yeah. So we'll give you more information on New Japan Cup on Thursday as well. Of course, like I said, Lucha Underground, all these different shows. We cover everything under the sun, really, when it comes to wrestling, but it's all packed into one fun show, and we want you to come join us there on Thursday night. Plus, we want to let you guys know, if you're not already listening to us through the W2M Network, you need to go to the WTM Network and subscribe. Now, the W2M Network has a bunch of shows, not just, the Wrestling to the Max or the W2M's Extras like you're listening to now. We have a ton of other shows, wrestling, sports, and of course, just a lot of great shows you need to go check out. So we want you to go do that now. Plus, Sean, we've got some great things coming out of the W2M Network this week. You want to kind of share a few things?
Yeah. Well, 2 of the shows are going to go through a rebrand. At least cosmetic-wise, they're not going to change very much. They're just going to be under different names. Since I had to give Randy credit for this because even though it may sound hokey, he kind of makes a point that, the football show and the video game show are they're done by us, so they should have the same name. So, they're going to be Football to the Max and Video Games to the Max instead of the 2 shows that they are because, for one, I'm not doing soccer anymore, and the other one, I don't even know what's so cooperative about what I'm doing in that show anyway. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense if you think about it, but they'll have new logos and probably different ways you can search for them in iTunes and stuff like that. So, yeah, starting this week.
Definitely. So be checking out that, guys. And, of course, like I said, it's a fun network. You need to go subscribe now. Plus, hey, we would appreciate if you rate and review. That would be awesome. It would really help us out. It's just a quick few minutes for you, and, it would do us a big favor. So, but besides that, I want to make sure I give a special thank you out to Mr. Christopher Hale. Man, it has been so awesome having you on this entire special. It's been a blast.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. It's always good to talk to you guys about wrestling, whether it's Ring of Honor or WWE or whatever. It's always fun to talk to you guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, definitely, man. So, but besides that, of course, the rest of us will be back on Thursday, and we hope that you have a great weekend. But we always want you to always remember, guys, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
Later.